Hi, this is Francisca, and this is my mid-crisis life. So, yesterday was my son's 14th birthday, and it was very almost uh, not a particularly good day. So, the day before his birthday, um, I got a message from school saying that he'd had a 30-minute detention for some kind of behavioural stuff. And when he came home, I had a chat with him. So, okay, well, what was that all about? What happened? And he said to me that some kids in his class had been taking the piss out of him because he has this pass where he can go and leave a class if he's feeling anxious, if he's feeling upset, if he needs just a timeout. They were telling him to go uh, cry in room 21. He said in the end he got really annoyed, he got really pissed off about it, put some boy in a headlock, then some other boy put him in a headlock, like some sort of headlock circle, and told him to let go. He went back to his desk and sat down, put his head on the table. The teacher spoke to him, said something or other, told him to lift his head up, and he said no. And the teacher said, "Well, you're being really disrespectful, and you're going to get a detention." And he went down to the detention room and he spoke with the head of his year and he explained what happened. And according to him, she said to him, "Yeah, I can understand why that would be really upsetting for you." And kind of acknowledged that actually, he's a really good kid. He doesn't really get in trouble. If he's behaved like that, there must be a reason why. Anyway, this conversation led on to another conversation that I'd been wanting to have with him for a while, that was about his decision to no longer engage with any support in terms of his mental health. Now, my son has periods where he really struggles with his mental health, and he has done for a long time. Periods where he feels like he just can't cope, where he just doesn't want to be around anyone, doesn't feel like he can go into school. And this isn't anything new. This is something that he's been struggling with for a long time. On top of that, he also has this condition called arithmomania, where it's like a form of OCD, where he has to count. And you'll see during periods where his anxiety is really, really heightened, that this will happen a lot. He won't be able to sleep, he won't be able to think, he won't be able to concentrate. He'll have to count absolutely everything that he does. He'll have to count every single word that comes out of his mouth to make sure that it comes out in some kind of multiple of 5. He'll have to count his steps. He'll have to count the chews that he does before he can swallow food. It's really, really bad. But he's decided now, at the age of 14, that he doesn't want to talk to anyone, that he doesn't like talking about his feelings, that he's not going to be using any of the support structures that are in place, that he's not going to counselling. He's done with everything. So now I was talking to him about it, and he got really angry at me. Really, really, really angry. And tried on a number of occasions to leave the conversation, to walk off. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He's not talking about it. He's not justifying himself. He's not having these conversations. Okay. So I know that there's a very small window of opportunity where your children are malleable enough for them to just simply engage with the things that you think that they should engage with, behave in the way that you think that they should behave. And I know that by 14, that ship has essentially sailed, that he is more autonomous, that he has more agency, and that in essence, in a lot of ways, he should be respected to make his own decisions. And me as a parent, I do very much feel that parenting isn't and shouldn't be draconian. There shouldn't be a prescribed list of things that you sign your child up for, whether you think it's good for them or not, because often what you push, they will resist against. However, what I would say is this, and this is what I said to my son. Okay, you don't want to do any of this stuff anymore. Please tell me what other strategies you are putting in place in your life in order to mitigate the risk and the harm that comes from this other area, this other aspect of your life. His answer is, there is no problem. I don't have any issues. I'm just not dealing with it. I'm not thinking about it anymore. So I know that all people, after the point at which you've gained your own ability to assess yourself and make your own decisions, I know that all people have to come to change when they're ready, when it's good for them, when it's right for them. Yeah. And I'm a big advocate of that. I don't think that you can force somebody to go to therapy if they don't feel like it's necessary, if they don't feel like it's going to be beneficial, and if they don't see any problem in the first place, right? One of the biggest things that I talk about in my job, in reports, is the capacity to change. And the capacity to change comes from an acknowledgement and an acceptance that there is an issue in the first place. That has to be the starting point. Without that, how can anything change? Because nobody believes that there's anything that needs to be changed. So I do definitely think that that's important. But what I said to my son yesterday, the day before yesterday, is I said, look, my parenting style is that of someone who doesn't micromanage. I don't have a million rules for my child. I'm not like, you can only be on your computer for this many hours during the week. You have to get your homework done before you do this. On a Saturday, you need to wake up and do this, and this before you can go and do this. You can't have this unless you do this. I don't make those kind of rules. And the biggest reason I don't do that is because I trust my son. And I also trust myself, and I trust the parenting that I've put in place. And I trust him to be able to make good decisions. I trust him to be able to make good, healthy decisions. And it shows because, for example, things like gaming, he used to rage. He spoke to me about it, and he's made his own decisions. And now when he gets to that point, he's like, okay, I'm getting a little bit pissed, I'm getting a little bit antsy. Let me get off the computer and go and do something else. He knows when he's not being healthy. He does all of his homework without me even having to ask him, because he's just like, I'm just going to do it because I know it needs to be done. I want to get it done, right? So I trust him a lot, and I trust myself that I've done a good enough job for him to be able to make good decisions. However, when it comes to this particular subject, whether it be his age, his understanding, the stage of development that he's going through, him trying to assert his own authority, whatever it might be, he's not making healthy decisions. And I said to him, look, I want to know that you are making good decisions, that you're doing what you need to do, and that you're looking after yourself in a healthy way. This decision does not demonstrate that. So if you can come to me and you can say to me, okay, I don't want to do this, but this is how I'm going to help myself, this is how I'm going to keep myself healthy, then we can have a conversation. The thing is like, I'm torn between making it a thing and saying, no, you will go to therapy. If you don't, this is what will happen. You will be denied this. There will be these sanctions, etc., etc. I'm torn between doing that and saying, okay, I trust you to make a decision, because I feel like it's a very precarious time. It's a very pivotal time. And there's a possibility that he could be lost for the next 10 years and make some really bad decisions that really do impact his opportunities in life, his attainment, all the rest of it. And I'm not really one to catastrophize things, but I think when it comes to really significant mental health, when it comes to a child who from the age of 3 was subjected to serious domestic abuse around him for many, many years, and a parent who was extremely narcissistic, extremely manipulative, extremely emotionally abusive, who then used to come home and behave in a way that was completely outlandish and very violent himself, and then feel guilty and feel like he was a piece of shit. These are things that are really significant. There's a reason why the British government have recognized that children are victims of domestic abuse in the care of their parents rather than just experiencing it. So I know that there's the potential for this to have a really big impact on him. But I guess thinking about it, what I would say is this, because I think as parents, we're always weighing these things up, right? We're always thinking, when do I get involved? When do I not? To what extent do I get involved? How much control should I have over this? How much free choice should I give this person? How much autonomy do I give my child in their life? I think this is like an age-old question that all parents struggle with. All parents. So here's my thoughts about it. And this is the same thing that I talk about in my parenting program. There are so many things that you could be reactive to as a parent. There are so many things that you could get all up in your children's business about. There are so many things that you could make rules about. But usually the things that we are reactive or responsive to are usually the things that are either unresolved in us. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, take a basic example, somebody who thinks that their child should eat everything on their plate. Where's that come from? Has it come from a parent who thought that you should eat everything on your plate? Or has it come from a parent who just allowed you to do what you wanted and now you have a really unhealthy relationship with food? When these things are unresolved, it causes them to be a bigger trigger, right? With our kids, in our relationships generally, but specifically with our kids, because we have a lot more control over that. We have a lot more, what's the word? I don't know. We can do something about it. We can't necessarily force anyone to do anything about it in other relationships, right? I think the way that this is solved is this. If you can work towards resolving your own unresolved trauma about particular things, then it creates less of a trigger, it creates less of a catalyst, it's less of a sticking point for you in your mind. You don't even notice it to respond to. Or you do and you just think, well, that's more about me than it is about anyone else. So I think it's also about having some self-awareness, right? What's you and what's them? What's about you and what's about what's best for them? And I know for me, definitely, that emotional harm, all of these things that I talk about, they're clearly an issue for me. I clearly think that it's extremely important to resolve your trauma so that it doesn't have an effect on you. And I need to be aware of how much that is impacting my desire for Callum to go and seek help, to engage with help. However, that notwithstanding, I do also think it's about understanding your core values. So once you shift all of that shit out the way, what are you left with? What is the most important things that you feel a person needs to learn in order to be healthy? And it's like, if I can have some discernment around what is coming from an unhealthy, distorted place where I need my child to do this thing in order to make me feel better, in order to address my unresolved trauma or loss or whatever it might be, and what actually is a fundamental value. Because these fundamental values, there's only going to be about 2, 3, maybe 4 of them, about what you think it is that makes a healthy life. And this is why, for me, I think with this situation, having assessed it and thought about it, chewed it over, I don't necessarily believe that my desire for Callum to do these things comes from a need to fix anything in myself, or a need to live vicariously through my child and have him fix his emotional issues in a way that I wasn't able to do. And even as I said that, I thought, well, is it? Is it? And I think maybe there is a part of me that wants him to fix his emotional issues in a way that I never had an opportunity to. In my childhood, in a way that nobody was advocating for me, in a way that nobody saw was beneficial, and nobody held me emotionally, and to be able to do those things. But I think really fundamentally, when it comes down to it, the reason why I don't have a lot of rules about things is because all of that stuff isn't part of my fundamental values. It's not part of my fundamental values that he's has a strict routine and a regime, and that he's organized, and that he, I don't know, excels educationally, and that he has, all these different variables and pockets of talents, and I don't know, whatever, things that seem to be very, very important to other people. I don't really care about them. What I care about is that he is psychologically and emotionally healthy, because that is the thing that affects our behavior. That is the thing that affects thought processes, and with that, our choices. So, unlike many things in Callum's life where I'm like, do you, bro? Make your own choices, make your own mistakes, and learn from the consequences of those. I think I have a feeling that the mistakes that he could make in this respect could actually be long lasting, and that it's imperative that he's guided more strongly in this area, and that comes from a core value, a core belief system, a core belief structure that is underneath all of my own shit. And I think for me, that's the easiest way, because it's not an easy process, because you have to kind of get rid of all your own shit, right? But once you've done that, it's very, very easy to be clear about when to step in and when not to step in when it comes to your children. So let's see, something that I'm grateful for off the back of that. Do you know what I'm really grateful for, actually? So we had this really difficult conversation, and there was some shouting, there was some parenting going on, right? And he was not happy. And he was demonstrating that in his behavior, in his tone, in his voice, in his actions, in the way that he tried to disrupt some important work that I was doing. He was demonstrative in the fact that he did not like being parented about this. But what I'm really, really grateful for is that after that, he came to me and he said, "Hey, Mum, come here, come on." And he gave me a hug, and he said, "Look, I know that you love me. I know you love me. And I know that what you're doing comes out of love. It comes out of your desire to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm safe." And I think that's a really beautiful thing, for him to be able to recognize, even despite the fact that he doesn't agree and he doesn't want to do it and he doesn't see the benefit, that he can recognize that actually this isn't about me, and that it's about him. And that's the truth, and that's the genuine truth, and that's the organic love that there is, and that's how it's unconditional, in that way. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that. I mean, let's see what happens. In essence, I left it and I said, okay, look, we'll leave it. You come back to me, have a think about it, have a think about what I've said, and you tell me how you feel you can safeguard yourself, and then we can go from there. And I guess that's the only balance that I can really hope to have in this situation. And if he really, really refuses, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. And refuses to do what? I don't know that either. We'll see. So, yeah, we will see. Okay. I think that's it.